Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with my weekly reads video. So this is for week number 40. It is October the 3rd through October the 9th, which is today. Happy Sunday, everybody. It's a bit earlier in the morning that I am filming this. It's about 8:15, but I wanted to get this filmed and uploaded as, quickly as possible because I am actually working today, unfortunately. I am pulling a 7-hour shift working from home today. We like to have at least one person work over the weekends. So generally we have to do one a month. And that's fine. It doesn't bother me in the least because it means I get this coming Friday off in lieu. So that works out very, very well. I will take a Friday off to work a Sunday. And to add to that, it is Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada. So that means that it's potentially, knock on wood, gonna actually be quieter than it normally would be for a Sunday. So I am very, very happy about that too. So I have 5 books. Is it 5 books that I finished this week? 5 books that I finished this week, you guys. Very exciting. So I'm going to share those with you. One I'm going to go on a bit of a rant on because it's a book I really didn't like. And then I am going to show you guys what I'm currently reading. Very quickly show you guys my little bit of crafting that I got done this week. And that should be it for this one. No book haul in this video or anything like that. For other channel type stuff, I just wanted to announce it right here off the bat. I hit 4,000 subscribers yesterday, you guys. I'm blown away. I had no, I never in my wildest dreams would I have ever thought I would have made it to 4,000 subscribers. I've been doing this, whoops, almost dropped my tablet. I've been doing this, it'll be 7 years in January. So it's been that slow and steady wins the race kind of an idea. I'm just happy that we have this little community here and that you guys really enjoy what I do, or you seem to. And it's fantastic. I know we all say it shouldn't be about the numbers, but it is, with all the hard work that you put into your channel and the things that you do, it is nice to see that pay off in a way, right? And I know that I'm not what YouTube is kind of looking for in a way. And when I say that, what I mean is that YouTube really wants you to stay in your lane. Like if you look at some of the really big channels, they tend to talk about one thing, like one type of book and one type of book only. There are other romance booktubers who only talk about romance books. They do not read anything else. And that's fine. Like that is their choice. I do though. And I think that's probably why I've been a lot slower in growth, is because it's hard to define what it is that I read. It's like, oh, is she a romance booktuber? Well, no, she also reads cozy mysteries and she also reads historical fiction. So I'm a bit more of a well-rounded reader, and I might not be for everybody because even just in the wrap up that I have today, I have, a YA mystery, another YA novel. Actually, I have 3 YA novels to be completely honest. And, I have a inspirational romance, and I have, what else did I read this week? And I have a romance. So, it's a little all over the map in a way. And, I get it and I understand, if you're like, oh, subscribe to this person because they read these kind of books. And then some of what they talk about is not those kind of books. Some people might be like, oh, I can hear somebody else talk about these kind of things. So I do appreciate you guys, all of you who comment, all of you who watch. It means the world to me, seriously. And I think I'm going to be upping my game with the channel in the next few months. I'm going to kind of do some stuff on a trial basis and see how it goes. I have been doing the shorts every day, which you guys really seem to enjoy, and I'm going to continue to do those. And yeah, so that's pretty much about it. I just wanted to announce that at the beginning. So again, thank you guys all so much. I really appreciate it. But let's dive into the reviews for this week. So the first book that I finished this week was Butterfly by V.C. Andrews. This is the first book in the Orphan series, and this is Janet's story. So this one, I had forgotten these books. Now, I read all of these when they were originally published, which I think was 1998, which means I would have been in college, I think, when they came out. Yeah, 1998. So there's the back of it. So the character in this book is younger. From what I remember, I thought that these were a bit older girls, but no, she's about 12. And she's been at this orphanage for years, and then there's this married couple that wants to adopt her. Well, the thing is that the wife at one point was a prima ballerina, and I guess she was in a car accident. Her husband was driving the car, so she kind of blames him. And her dreams of becoming a really, really famous ballerina were literally smashed. She has no use of her legs. She's in a wheelchair. So they had seen Janet, and the wife wanted her because she was a tiny little thing. They kept talking in the book about how tiny she is. That even though she's like almost 12 or 13, she looks about 8 because of her size. And they want her to train her. She's never had any ballet experience before. So the mother pretty much force trains her. Like the only reason they adopted her was so that she could live out her dreams of being a ballerina through this person, through this, not even her daughter, because like, spoiler alert, there's a point in the book where she's like, she's not my daughter. I'm training her, kind of an idea. So it was dark in that aspect. Like, for kids who are being adopted, clearly there's protocols in place that this wouldn't necessarily happen, but this is a V.C. Andrews novel, right? So anyway, there is some, areas in this book that you need to tread lightly. I mean, it's not a very thick book, comes in about 170 pages, but there is one scene with, now again, she's only 12, with a boy who's a bit older than her, who touches her very inappropriately. So, tread lightly, people, tread lightly. These books, I mean, I don't think that V.C. Andrews books necessarily need any sort of like trigger warning idea, because I think everyone is aware of the kind of books that these are, and that if you didn't find something like that, it would be surprising. And I hate to say that, but that's kind of the shock and awe value of V.C. Andrews. I mean, everybody read Flowers in the Attic for the thing that nobody, that people talk about, don't talk about, what have you. The relationship between the brother and sister in that book, like that's what made Flowers in the Attic famous, I think. So, shock and awe is kind of what these books are all about. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think I gave it 3 stars. I mean, it's a short book. It was an entertaining read. And yeah, I mean, I like this series. So each book is going to be about a different girl, all the first 4 books. And then the 5th book in the series is a full-length novel that is about all 4 of them together. So I will be getting to that one hopefully in November. So that was the first book that I finished. The second book that I finished this week, you guys, was Witcha Gonna Do by Avery Flynn. This is the first book in the Witchington series. And thank you very much to NetGalley and to Berkeley for sending me an e-art copy of this one to read and review. I think this one comes out in December. So if I remember, I'll put the date down here, but I'm pretty sure it's early December. So this is the story of Tilda and Gil. So it's Matilda, or she goes by Tilda, and Gil. And she is born to a family of witches, but she is the only one who has no magical ability. She is the out something. I can't remember the name that they use for it. But Gil works for this kind of secret organization. So what I really liked about this, let me back it up just for a second here, that Avery Flynn has created this entire universe. Just that not universe, let me rephrase that. This whole other dimension just outside of our world. So it's our world, but if we had magical abilities. They still have cell phones. They still use Uber, stuff like you're getting the normal day-to-day stuff, but it's this magical world with like a shape-shifting unicorn, and there are trolls, and there are fairies, and there are trees that come alive, and magic is a thing. And I love that it's like a contemporary world with magic. And it's delightful. And I really, really enjoyed it for that aspect. It took me a little bit, and the reason it didn't get a higher star rating was because I don't typically read fantasy or sci-fi and things like that. So this whole world building aspect in a way is a bit newer to me. So there were some points, to be completely honest, that I was a little like confused, but I would just reread through the paragraph or whatever, be like, oh, okay, I get it now, but I mean, Avery Flynn did a really great job, and I did end up enjoying it, of course, at the end. So anyway, Gil works for this council, and they're kind of like the secret underground organization. Something happened to his parents. I don't want to give away too much, but he finds out that Tilda might not be who she appears to be. And yeah, there's a relationship between the two of them. I don't want to say too much because I really went into this book not knowing very much about it, you guys, and I absolutely loved it. Now, it is Avery Flynn, so do keep in mind it is going to get spicy, and it does get spicy. If spicy romance is not your jam, steer clear of this one. Maybe not steer clear of it. I shouldn't say that. It was really good, but it's not, okay, so for a book like My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey, that book almost from start to finish If it wasn't adult content, it was a lot of innuendo, a lot of dirty talk, things like that. With this book, there are a few scenes that are on the naughty side, if you will, that were very well written, I might add, but they are on the naughty side. So they like are more towards the end of the book, but it's not all the way through the book, if that makes sense. If you really wanted to, you could flip past those scenes and it would not ruin the reading experience of the book for you. But yeah, it was really good. I liked it a lot. I already know, and I had a feeling because it was like a read an excerpt from the next book at the very end of this one, and I know who the next book is going to be about because this is the first in the series. So it's about Tilda's sister, and I'm super excited about that. And yeah, I just really, really like this one a lot. I love Tilda as a main character. She was a normal-sized girl who, you know, had family issues and, you know, didn't necessarily get along as great with her parents because she is a bit different and talks about being different and, you know, from the rest of your family. And I really, really liked it. So I absolutely recommend this one. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. The next book is the one that we're going to go on a rant on, you guys. So I finished reading The Lake by Natasha Preston. I gave this book 2 stars. I gave this book 2 stars because I finished it. So those stars were for me for finishing it. I should have DNF'd this towards the beginning because it was not an enjoyable read. I was really looking forward to this one. I was really, really looking forward to this one. I just bought, and I think that was part of what it was, is that I literally just bought this book not long ago. And I mean, I paid $15 for it, you know, and a part of me was like, well, I want to get my money out of it, so I'm going to read it. But this is not one that's going to be staying on my shelf. I will be definitely donating this to the thrift store, and hopefully somebody else reads it who likes it, because it wasn't me. So the plot of this story, so when I originally read the back of this book, I really got vibes of the movie I Know What You Did Last Summer, with teenagers who do something very bad, and then the next, you know, and then they start getting harassed by somebody saying, hey, I know what you did, blah, blah, blah. And that's what I thought this book was going to be. And it sort of was, but it really wasn't. So it's the story of, what are our characters' names again? Esme and Kylie are the 2 best friends. So they are about 17 years old, and they live, I don't know, somewhere in Pennsylvania, New York, New England-y area. And they had gone to this camp when they were younger in Texas. Now, my first thing was, now I know up here, like, I went to camp when I was a kid too, but we kind of went in the same town. I didn't go 6 provinces over to camp. Like, it just seemed weird that these girls from, like, let's say it's Pennsylvania, traveled to Texas to go camping. Are there no campgrounds in Pennsylvania? I thought that part of it was a little odd, but I guess she had to do that to make the story work. The author had to do that. So I don't know, shout out in the comments, if you guys went camping, like, to, like, a camp, like a sleepaway camp that your parents paid for, was it, like, in a different state? I'm curious if this was a thing. I don't know. Anyway, because any book I've ever read about camp, it's always been in the area. But anyway, I'm digressing. Okay, so they went to this camp when they were much younger. They were about 8 years old, and something happens at the camp. And something happens with these 2 girls, and then they don't go back. And then they get these, like, pamphlets in the mail saying, hey, come and join and be counselors in training this summer, blah, 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 blah. So the 2 of them decide to apply, and they both get into the camp, and then weird things start happening. So this is about to be spoilery, you guys, because I need to talk about this, because I can't be vague. I need to talk about this. So if you guys are not interested in hearing my thoughts on it, feel free to use the timestamps below and jump ahead to the next review or whatever, because I am about to get all spoilery all up in this book. So the incident that happened was a fire. So Kaylee and Esme, when they were 8 years old, snuck out of their cabin because they saw older kids doing it, and they were 8 years old and wanted to be just like the older kids. And they snuck out of their cabin, and they went to this part in the forest, and they started a bonfire, and it got a bit out of control, and there was a fire. Now, the fire burned down some trees. That's all that happened. That was it. I mean, it wasn't optimal. It wasn't something that they wanted to have happen, but it wasn't horrible. It was a fire. You know, accidents happen. They were 8 years old. And it was an area where they had been doing fires before. Like, it was a bonfire area because the entire little clearing was circled with rocks. So that way, if a fire got out of control, it couldn't go more into the forest. Does that make sense? Now, the thing is that there was another girl there, a little girl by the name of Lillian, and I think it was a couple years older than our main characters. And what confused me about this one is she kind of came out of nowhere. Like, they didn't do enough back and forth to what happened before, that I guess she came upon these girls in the woods, Esme and Kayla, and was taunting them. And she seemed like a pretty messed up little girl. And I guess she was taunting Kayla, and then when the fire started, Kayla pushed her, and she fell back into the fire. So, and they left her there, like, so she did get burned. Again, that's horrible. That's not a good thing. I get it. But again, Esme and Kayla were 8 years old. What are 8-year-olds going to do? They're going to run. They're going to be scared. They're going to think that they're going to get in so much trouble. So I guess Lillian was the little girl. She got out, she ended up living. And I'm not discounting the fact that she was burned in a fire. That is absolutely horrible. But again, they were 8 years old. Okay? So that was the big incident. All right? So Lillian is the one who actually brings them back to this camp along with these two boys by the name of Ollie and Jake. And Ollie and Jake were best friends. They pretended not to know each other when they first got to camp. And they had witnessed this entire event. They were also only 8 years old. Can't stress this fact enough. They were 8 years old. I think that's what's really setting me off with this. So anyway, they had witnessed this and they didn't stop in to help any either. And Lillian blames all 4 of them for what happened to her because she got back to her house and she was badly burned and she did have an abusive upbringing, I guess. And so in other words, not to get in trouble for running away, because again, this is the mind of a 10-year-old. This is how they would think. She knew she would get in big trouble for running away, like for sneaking out essentially and having this incident happen, that she ended up setting fire to her house. Clearly this kid is messed up. And then essentially she had to go and get help at the hospital for her burns because of the U.S. medical system. The parents didn't have the money to pay for all of her surgeries, so they ended up going bankrupt. So Lillian is always blamed, Esme, Kayla, Jake, and Ollie for what happened because none of them stepped in to help her. But, and again, I'm not justifying this at all, it was an accident. An 8-year-old pushed a 10-year-old because she was getting scared. Like this 10-year-old girl was taunting her and scaring her. So she wanted her to go away and pushed her, and she accidentally fell back into a fire. It's an accident. The whole thing was an accident. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't on purpose. Nothing. So flash forward, like the decade that has gone past, because the girls are now 16, 17, so 8 to 10 years. And Lillian is exacting her revenge. So she is taunting them at the camp throughout the entirety of the book. The ending of this book is what somebody on Goodreads wrote it. They said the ending of this book made them want to bash their head against a wall. And I'm like, thank you. So the ending of this book did not justify anything that happened in the book. It was beyond violent. Literally, it's a mass murder. Lillian kills Jake, and then she kills Kayla, and then she kills Ollie, like with a shotgun. Like she, right there, murders them all with a shotgun. And then just as the police are going to show up, she throws the gun to Esme and runs away. And that's how the book ends. I'm like, WTF. The other thing, the writing in this book was extremely juvenile. Like, and I'm not trying to discount the writer in any way, because clearly it says she's a New York Times bestselling author. So maybe this just was a dud. But my understanding is that she got her start on Wattpad, I think, and then her stuff started to get published, which is great. That's a great venue for would-be authors or, wannabe authors or what have you. But this wasn't self-published. This was published by, I can't read the side of it, getunderline.com, Penguin Random House. So, I mean, this is a big name publisher, and guys, this book was garbage. I'm sorry. A part of me wants to try another one of her books because they keep saying The Twin is supposed to be fantastic. So maybe this was just a dud. I don't know. For those of you, have any of you read this author before? And were the book that was the book or the books that you read better than this? I don't want to discount an author off of one book because this just could have been a bad book. I would try her again, but if you guys have any recommendations, please do let me know. So yeah, I don't recommend this one, guys. And, you know, if you watch to this point, you've already been spoiled on how it ends. Um, sorry, not sorry. But I had to talk about it because it was driving me crazy. The next book that I finished was This Side of Evil by Carolyn Keene. I gave this book 3.5 stars. This one was really fun. This is book number 14 in the Nancy Drew case file series, the series that came out in the 80s. Again, I've mentioned it every time. These are the ones that I read and remember when I was a kid. I remember getting these from the library. So in this book, Nancy heads to Montreal, Canada, which I really liked, with her boyfriend Ned and their friend, or her friend George, Georgina. For those of you who have not read the Nancy Drew series, she has two sidekick best friends, Bess and George. And George ends up coming with her and Ned, and she's been hired by this woman to find out who is blackmailing employees at this company. So I don't want to get too much more into it than that. I mean, it's a very short book. I think I finished this one in just a few hours. It was a really quick read. I mean, it's big print, you know, these are great just for flying through. And the only thing is that I don't get who the guy is on the cover because it's not Ned. And she doesn't meet some other guy in the book, but I think that they did this in the 80s to make it more of like they were coming off the coattails in a way of Sweet Valley kind of an idea. So that's my thought, like, oh, there's a hot guy on the cover, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, yeah. So like I said, it takes place in Montreal. There's a lot of like Montreal kind of like sightseeing stuff that happens. They talk about the Montreal Expos, which is a team that doesn't even exist anymore in baseball. I don't think it exists anymore. They moved. I don't know where they went. But about like the stadium that they played in and how it was originally for the 67 World's Fair or Olympics or something. My Canadian like sports history is horrible. It is what it is. So yeah, I mean, it was a fun read. I gave it 3.5 stars, like I said, and I am enjoying reading my way back through this series. And then the last book that I finished was just last night before I went to bed, which was The Veterans Holiday Home by Tobin McClain. This is the 10th book in the Canine Companion series. So this series is not a series that you need to read in order, except the fact that this book and the other book that this author wrote for this series, you should read in order. So you don't have to, but they do take place at the same school. So I can't remember what book number it is, but it's called Her Easter Prayer. And I read it earlier this year, and it takes place at a school for troubled boys who might have difficult home lives or what have you. So you meet two of the characters at this school in that first book, Her Easter Prayer. Now you're meeting another character that you did meet in that first book. She's the principal of the school. Her name is Ashley. So this is the story of Ashley and Jason. And Ashley and Jason have a history because Ashley was actually married to Jason's half-brother, Christopher. And I don't want to get too much into the whole background of Ashley's relationship with her husband, but she is now a widow, I'll say that much. And unbeknownst to either of them, Jason applies for this job at this school to be like the new shop teacher, I guess. And like I said, Ashley's the principal, but on his resume, he doesn't give his first name. He gives, I think it's like J.C. Smith, and his last name is Smith. So, I mean, it's a common last name, right? And he's always gone by Jason, and he only knew her as Dr. Green, like the principal kind of an idea. So he ends up getting hired at the school, and the two of them have a bit of a relationship. I ended up giving this book, what did I give this book in total? 4 stars. It would have gotten a slightly higher star rating, except for a few things. Now we all know, and I'm not spoiling anything here, you guys, but the ending when the two of them end up getting together, I thought moved a little too quickly. They had not even gone really on any dates, and he was proposing marriage. Spoiler alert, sorry guys, but I thought it was a little bit fast. And the other thing too was that for a book that is Christmas, my hair's doing weird things today. For a book that is Christmas, this book did not feel exceptionally Christmassy to me. I mean, the cover is Christmassy. A good part of the book, I'd say about a quarter of the book takes place at Christmas time, but this wasn't necessarily a Christmas story, but the parts that were Christmas were really well done Christmas, and I liked it quite a bit. So yeah, that for those aspects of it. This is a new release. It just came out this month in October. It was cute. It was fun. I liked it. I mean, I gave it 4 stars. So yeah, it was an enjoyable read, and a lot about forgiveness as usual. Both Jason and Ashley blame themselves in a way for Christopher's death, but really the person to blame was Christopher in a way. Again, I don't want to get too much into the reasoning why that is, but I really like the school aspect of this location. I hope she writes some more books in this setting, because there are some other characters that I would love to see get their own story, like Ashley's best friend Haley, who runs the cafeteria, and she has her eyes kind of on the local would it be a preacher? Yeah, the local, minister, preacher. Which one of them can get married? I'm sorry. Christianity is not my forte. I'm not sure which one it is. I think it's priest, maybe? I don't know. But his name is Nathan. He's a younger, like he's not an older gentleman. He's more their age. And, throughout the book, there's some discussions about how much time they spend together. And I would really like to see their story, because that would be super cute. So, Lee, if you're watching this, can we have Haley and Nate's story, please? Because that would be delightful. But yeah, anyway, I enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun. So, what am I currently reading, guys? I've got one book that I started last night before I went to bed, because I finished the Love Inspired book. And then I immediately picked this one up and read I read the prologue. So I'm now reading Crystal by V.C. Andrews, which is the next book in the Orphan series. So there's the back of this one. And like I said, I am only one chapter, or like the prologue in, but I will finish this one today. I'm sure of it. Again, it's under 170 pages, and I am working from home today, and I don't anticipate it being too busy. So in some of the downtime, I'll probably get some reading done. We are going to my brother and sister-in-law's tonight for Thanksgiving dinner, which I'm very much looking forward to. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, crafting. I've got a little bit of crafting stuff to show you, not very much. So let me show you that, and then I can be done with this video and get it uploaded for you lovely people. So my socks. I got a bit of work done on my socks this week, not as much as I'd like to. I have been working on my blanket. Should I show you guys my blanket? I think I'm going to show you guys my blanket. So here's what I've gotten done on the socks. There's where I was the last time I showed you. So I've gotten this done. I'm still working on the leg. It's not very much. I kind of do this while I'm laying in bed at night for a half an hour, just to get, my mind, it's really mindless and it's really enjoyable. So that's why I love sock knitting, because not only are they awesome to have hand knit socks, but it's also a nice mindless thing to do when you just need to decompress a little bit after a long day. But I have been working on, sorry, let me reach, my sock yarn blanket of doom, as I like to call it, because this thing will never be finished. I did restart it. Those of you who have watched me for a while, or used to watch me when I used to do the Canadian Knitter podcast here on YouTube, all about my knitting and stuff, that I had an older sock yarn blanket, but I wasn't 100% happy with it, so I've restarted it. And I don't know how many squares are in here now, but I have a lot. So let me show you. So there it is. So what I did with my original blanket was that I had started at the bottom and I just went all the way across like 40 squares and then came back and blah, 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 blah. And that's how I was doing it. And it was very, very difficult to handle and maneuver. So what I've done this time is I've got my little marker here to show that this is the bottom corner, is I started here and then I just kind of put them all around. And then I went all around. So I just keep building it. And the whole point is that eventually when I either A, it gets to the size I want, or B, I get sick of knitting on it, it's going to be a perfect square. So what I've been doing is, let me see here, am I showing this right? No, it goes this way. My bad. It goes this way. So is that right now I'm working up the side. So I'm putting these squares in along the side. So I've still got 1, 2, 3 more to do along this side. So I'll add 3 squares sometime this week, I'm sure. And then what I'll do is I'll go back along the top. So I'll start up here and I'll do a row completely across the top. And then I'll go back down here and I'll do another row up and then another row across. And that's how I've been building it as I go. But these are all scraps. Some of them are duplicates. I don't even care anymore. I love this blanket so much. Talking about mindless knitting, these mitered squares are just so, I can do one of these squares in about a half an hour. So come the holidays, I've been doing the shorts in the mornings. What I'm going to be doing for the month of December is going to be pulling my tea, because I do have it right there. Keep going. Right there. That's the David's Tea Advent Calendar, guys. I got the David's Tea Advent Calendar this year. So I've got that. I will be pulling the tea daily. And I will also be pulling a blanket square. And so that's going to be my daily shorts, are going to be like kind of very quickly, this is what I'm reading. Here's my tea. Here's my, my yarn for the day for my blanket square. So my goal is to get at least one of these squares done a day for the entire month it's probably going to be for the entire month of December because that's what I've done in years previous. So that's been really enjoyable. And as for my cross stitch, so I showed you guys that Ghost in a Teacup pattern last week, and I really like it. It's super cute. The problem is that I couldn't find fabric that I loved that worked with the pattern. So I'm actually going to order some like dark gray fabric from a seller on Etsy who's in the area. So it's very, very reasonable for shipping and for all that stuff. But I decided to restart the Witch in the house, because some of you gave some great suggestions, and I thank you so much for that. Like, somebody suggested I move the Witch up to the top of the house and, you know, stuff like that. And that was great. But at the end of the day, I knew I wasn't going to be happy with it. And if I wasn't going to be happy with it, there was no point in me continuing. So I bought a much bigger piece of fabric and I have restarted it. But what I'm doing now instead is I'm doing the bunting on the house. So I am starting back at the house, because you try and start roughly, at least I try and roughly start in the middle of my patterns. Some people start in the top, some people start in the bottom. The choice is really up to you on the pattern and what have you. But let me show you the pattern. I'm sorry, I got cat hair all over my tablet. I didn't realize that the cats had been using my tablet. But, you know, it depends on where you want to start. But I am one who likes to start in the middle. And now I'm trying to remember what the name of this pattern is. The Witch Next Door. That's what it's called. And this is by Primrose Cottage Stitches. And let me just show you guys the pattern. So what I had done before, what I had finished, sorry, the pattern's just opening up here on my tablet. I just want to see the picture, you guys. There we go. So what I had already done, I had started on the top of the house up here. So instead, what I've decided to do, just to kind of give myself a break, is I'm working on this. So the bunting, kind of like that's, you know, underneath this roof line, and then I'll go down and I will do the bottom part here, and then I'll go back up and do this, just to kind of give myself a break from originally, like when I was doing that originally. So yeah, so that's, right now it looks kind of creepy. Like my husband's like, oh, it looks like scary Halloween eyes. I'm like, oh, it does. So yeah, so that's all I've done, you guys. Not terribly interesting, not a lot. But yeah, I'm going to try and pick this up get a bit more today, I think. But like I said, I'm going to go right across and do this, and then I'm going to go down and do the bottom of the porch, and then back up to do the top half. So yeah, so I've got a lot of fabric now on both sides. I will have more than enough to do this on, and I'm very, very happy that I made the decision at the end of the day. It wasn't optimal. I should have measured properly the first time. That'll teach me. Measure 6 times, stitch once. So anyway, guys, that is it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know, what have you guys been reading? What books did you love reading this week? And again, let me know on Natasha Preston, for those of you who might have read this author. Did you read anything by her that you enjoyed? Because I'd love to know what it is, because I do want to give her a second chance. So anyway, guys, that's it. Until my next video, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.